Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is McDuck33 and welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. With Solstice finishing, Season of the Haunted is beginning to close down, meaning that the next season is right around the corner. And coming to us along with this season is Arc 3.0. Similar to Void and Solar, I imagine this will shake up the meta quite a bit between new armor mods, seasonal artifact mods, armor pieces, and weapons. In the previous 3.0 systems, we had a heavy influence on matching the element of your gun to your subclass, and I doubt that Arc will be any different. With that, today I bring you 5 legendary weapons in Destiny 2 that you should get before the launch of Arc 3.0. Before we begin, I just wanted to say that there are a lot of Arc weapons in Destiny 2, and choosing only 5 means that a lot of good options were left out of the picture. Be sure to let me know down below any weapons that you are looking forward to using come Arc 3.0. Kicking off our list at number 5, we have the 7th Seraph SAW 360 rounds per minute machine gun. This was first introduced way the hell back in Season of the Worthy, and is now obtainable on select weeks in Dares of Eternity. Although machine guns aren't the best right now, they do contest pretty well after their recent buff, and personally I think this is one of the better ones. This gun is part of the high impact frame of machine guns, the same as things like the Swarm from Nightfalls, and the Fixed Odds from the Duality Dungeon. While the Fixed Odds is an arguably better machine gun, as it is craftable and does have access to enhanced perks, the SAW has one major advantage, and that's being Arc. The SAW can get some amazing rolls for PvE, most notably in the second perk column, Firing Line. For those who have been living under a rock, Firing Line is among the best damage perks for PvE, granting an extra 20% damage to precision hits while standing by 2 or more allies. This perk is insanely good in raid and GM scenarios, and can come in handy occasionally in other things. With the damage from Firing Line, plus the buff to machine guns, this is actually one of the better options for DPS now. On top of that, it can also get some fantastic third column perks, such as auto-loading, if you really want to lean hard into the boss DPS, Clown Cartridge and Field Prep for more general play, and Grave Robber if you really can't get anything else. I personally am still hunting for a god roll, but when I get one, it will probably become my favorite machine gun in the game. I am super excited for this one because machine guns have kind of flown under the radar, and if Arc goes down the path of chaining lightning between enemies, I have a feeling this will be one of the best weapons to do that with. If you want to farm one for yourself, you can get it from the end chest in Dares of Eternity on certain weeks. Coming in at number 4, we have the Insidious 450 rounds per minute pulse rifle. This frame is a very rare one, standing host to only 2 weapons, including this. The other weapon is the Kinetic Sacred Provenance from the Garden of Salvation raid, which is a monster in PvP, but sadly lacks in PvE. On the other hand, Insidious kicks ass in both. While this list mostly focuses on the PvE viability of weapons, it is worth noting that the Insidious is an absolute monster within PvP. Moving back to PvE, the gun hosts a ton of amazing perks. In the third column, you have great perks like Dragonfly, which is actually pretty rare in this column, Stats for All, Demolitionist, and Rapid Hit. In the final column, you have amazing options as well, with One for All, Adrenaline Junkie, Rampage, and even Adaptive Munitions if you're looking to take this into more match game content. The gun itself hits like a truck due to the archetype, and on top of all this, it's craftable. I, unfortunately, am still collecting red borders for the pattern, but once I craft my god roll, you can definitely expect a video from me. As far as synergies with Arc 3.0, I think it's going to be a great weapon for dealing lots of damage with an Arc primary. Even in the current sandbox with no Arc 3.0, the gun is still one of the best pulse rifle choices out there. Overall, even if you don't plan on using it for Arc 3.0, Insidious is still a phenomenal gun, definitely worthy of the number 4 spot on today's list. If you want to farm one for yourself, you can do so by going through the Vow of the Disciple raid. Sliding into number 3 is the Eternal Blazon 200 rounds per minute lightweight scout rifle. For the most part, this gun has flown way under the radar. I hardly see anybody use it ever, but looking at other Arc Scouts, of which there is one, this is clearly the best choice. It is part of the 200 rounds per minute archetype, the same as the infamous Nightwatch, and presents on par, if not better, perk options. Looking at the perks in D2 Gunsmith, this weapon actually features barrels instead of sights.
Strike that. Reverse it.
For this, I would probably go with either the Flash HS5 or the Torch HS3. These are both very comfortable sights that increase the range and fit very nicely on the gun. For column 2, we have the usual options. If you're going to go overflow in the third column, extended mag might be the play here. Otherwise, I would go for something like flared magwell or appended, or even light mag to push out that range even further. In column 3, the big two perks that really stand out are rapid hit and overflow, combined with definitely one for all in the fourth column. I think I might like rapid hit more here just for consistency purposes, but overflow is definitely a fantastic option. Finally, for the masterwork, I would say either range or reload, as those are generally the best for scouts. The unfortunately sad part about this weapon is that it no longer drops. The only way to get one is to get lucky with the gunsmith or Xur, both of which are pretty unreliable sources. Hopefully Bungie gives it to one of the two vendors before the release of the new season. Otherwise, all we can do for now is hope and pray. Blasting itself into the second place spot is the Forbearance Waveframe Grenade Launcher. Like Insidious, this is a weapon obtained from the Vow of the Disciple raid, and has since gained popularity in the community. There are many things that support this beast of a weapon, starting with the perk options. If I'm being honest, most of the perks the gun can get are pretty bad. All but maybe 2 in the third column are hot garbage at worst, and mediocre at best. And while there is a wider array of good perks in column 4, there's really only one true star. The perk combo that everybody has been raving about since the raid came out is Ambitious Assassin, which overflows the magazine based on the number of kills you got before reloading, meaning that you can fit 2 grenades into 1 magazine. Combine this with Chain Reaction, a fairly rare perk, and you have a weapon that can tear through any enemy like a hot knife through butter. Unfortunately, it is kind of a pain in the ass to get if you have to play the Vow of the Disciple raid, which, despite being my favorite raid, can be tedious when farming for red borders. Like most other guns from the raid, I still haven't gotten the pattern, which is something I should definitely do, but until then, I'll stick with my below average roll of Stats for All Chain Reaction. This is definitely a weapon you should go for, even if you don't plan on using ARC 3.0. I did want to quickly mention a backup for the Forbearance, however. Seeing as it is so much of a pain to get, a much easier, albeit not as effective, version of the gun is the Salvager's Salvo. These two grenade launchers are essentially the same thing, but the Salvo is a traditional grenade launcher, whereas the Forbearance is a waveframe, making it much more ideal for dealing with large groups of adds. Salvager's Salvo is Forbearance's younger brother who follows in the footsteps of his older sibling, but can never quite reach the height that they did. If you don't want to grind out 5 red borders for Forbearance, or don't have access to the Witch Queen at all, you can snag yourself a salvo from the exotic kiosk at the tower. As for the Forbearance, it is acquired from the Vow of the Disciple raid, and like every other weapon from that raid, collecting and completing 5 red borders will allow you to craft your own god roll. Before I reveal my pick for the best weapon for ARC 3.0, I do have some honorable mentions. I picked out 5 weapons that would totally make it on here if it were a top 10s list, but unfortunately just didn't make the cut for top 5. Starting off, we have the Stochastic Variable 900 rounds per minute SMG. This one is not nearly as good as the weapons mentioned above, but damn is it fun to use. With a role like Feeding Frenzy plus multi-kill clip, alongside the unique Phase Mag perk in the second column, this is one that I would definitely keep an eye out for in your world drops. Next up for honorable mentions, we have the Nezarec Whisper Glaive. Although glaives aren't by no means the best class of weapon in the current sandbox, I wouldn't call them bad. Nezarec Whisper, along with being ARC, is just an amazing glaive, supporting some of the best perk combos like Demolitionist Frenzy, Demo Adrenaline Junkie, plus some other unique stuff like Adaptive Munitions. Overall, this is probably the best glaive in the game, and I can only see it getting better with ARC 3.0. Following the Nezarec Whisper, we have the Nation of Beasts 140 rounds per minute hand cannon. I was watching a Demon Joe video on the same topic as this one, and he had an opinion on the Nation of Beasts that I really liked. It's sorta like an ARC Fatebringer. Looking back on the rolls and my own experience with the gun, I really couldn't agree more. This one isn't too hard to get either, coming from the Last Wish raid, which at this point is a cakewalk for most people. As far as perks for the Nation of Beasts, it gets some of the pretty decent stuff for its extremely tiny perk pool, but the role you're really looking for is either Outlaw Explosive Payload or Ambitious Assassin Explosive Payload. This gives it a very Fatebringer feel that gives it an excellent performance in-game. Additionally, you could also go the route for Outlaw Dragonfly. Either way, this hand cannon is among the best in the game and far more overlooked than it should. if you haven't checked out Demon Joe, you totally should. He makes awesome content on Destiny Endgame PvE, and is just a fun guy to watch. I will link his channel in the description in case you want to head over there after this video. I also included the Hero of Ages Vortex Frame Sword as an honorable mention, simply because of chain reaction. There's something really fun and satisfying about walking into a room full of ads, pressing right click once, and watching them all explode into a brilliant ball of light blue energy. And yes, while I know that there are other swords like this that roll with this same perk on the same frame, this one is Arc and is way easier to get in my opinion. This weapon is acquired through completing the servitor encounter in Grasp of Avarice, and honestly, any roll with chain reaction is going to give you a fun time. Ending off our honorable mentions, we have the infamous Storm Chaser Aggressive Frame Linear Fusion Rifle. This is a brand new archetype that was introduced to us with the Duality Dungeon, and it made waves through the PvE community. Storm Chaser took the DPS meta by storm, taking over pretty much every other option that had proved itself to be effective. So you might be wondering why I put it as an honorable mention and not as an actual item on the ranking. And there's two reasons. First, it's pretty easy to see that it's going to get nerfed. It already got a nerf to its rate of fire, and the damage is still absurd. People are breezing through Grandmasters no sweat with this thing, while using any other heavy feels like putting yourself at an active disadvantage. The other reason is because I don't see many Arc 3.0 synergies. As a heavy LFR, its job is to do a shit ton of damage to one enemy with a shit ton of health. And that's what it's good at. But looking at both Solar and Void, the weapon synergies usually revolve around killing enemies to proc various effects, something you aren't doing as much with the Storm Chaser. While I do think it's still a monster of a weapon, it might not be the best when it comes to creating the ultimate Arc 3.0 synergy build. If you want to snag yourself one of these, you can get one from the Duality Dungeon. And finally, our number one pick. This one might surprise a lot of you, but my pick as the best weapon for Arc 3.0 is the Arc Logic 600 rounds per minute auto rifle. Buckle in, because there is a lot I have to say about this gun. For starters, 600 RPM autos are in a really good spot right now, not feeling too powerful while also not feeling too weak. And Arc Logic just bumps that up even higher. Let's talk about the perks. There are multiple fantastic perks in Column 3, mainly Overflow, Subsistence, and Feeding Frenzy. Combine that with any of the 4 damage perks in Column 4, and you will be mowing through enemies like there is no tomorrow. Additionally, you can also go the route of a more ability-focused gameplay, trading your damage perk in for either Demolitionist or Wellspring. Demo is going to give you more ability energy, but only for your grenade, while Wellspring gives you less energy overall, but applies to all of your abilities. The role that I currently have is Subsistence Rampage, and I absolutely love it. Rampage is probably the damage perk I would recommend the most, as it goes really well with both Subsistence and Overflow, while Frenzy I find to be better with Feeding Frenzy. Even still, all of the options are extremely solid. Depending on what you use as your special, I would argue that Overflow is better than Subsistence, but if you're like me and are often full on special ammo, Subsistence is definitely the way to go. Just as an added bonus, the sight and general look of the gun is amazing, and it feels really nice to shoot. The sound it makes, like all the moon weapons, is really satisfying, which just adds even more to why I love this gun. If you want to get one for yourself, which I highly recommend you do, you can get them from the Essence of Failure missions available from the Lectern of Enchantment. They don't take too long to complete, but getting the right roll can be a little tricky if you're running low on Phantasmal cores. That is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like. If you guys really enjoyed, be sure to subscribe because that'd be awesome. If you want to see me do more Destiny 2 content like this in the future, let me know down in the comments section below. If you want to get in touch with me, the best place is on Twitter or Discord, both of which will be linked down below. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.